unfortunately, it's kind of hard to really,
Herding cats.
for the lack of better terms, you said it best. It's a difficult process, and especially to us newbies coming on. It's not that they have bad intentions. I believe, I hope, but they just having some bumps in the road and they're adjusting. So I recommend that we censor them for at least a year, where they can't make a motion for up to a year.
I guess that would be, now to me, and I'll defer to Mr. Waller, to me, then that would limit their right to represent their community, their borough, if we did that. And I don't believe that we have the right to revoke that. That would be Mr. Waller.
Well, I think anything that you do to that board member in some way is going to impact their ability to represent their borough. If you remove them from a committee, I think it's going to impact their ability to do so. So I think anything that you do is going to infringe upon that. But I think you also keep in mind that this is something that the board member brought upon him or herself. And so this is the consequence of the unacceptable behavior.
I just think you would learn a greater lesson if you couldn't initiate a motion than you would if you're taken off of a committee that meets 4 times a year, and you take me off. Okay, I still can do what I want. What's next? Because what happens when you take me off the committee and there's nothing else to do to me? You get what I'm saying? Versus,
So we might need a 5.
versus
Instead of 4, we
us
might need
saying,
5.
okay, we're going to silence you for 60 days, where you still get to vote. We're not taking that right away from you. You're still that voice representing your constituents, but you can't initiate a motion. And to me, I think that's a less harsh way, but it's an effective way of getting the attention of the board member. Because I'm using myself for an example so I don't get in trouble. When I go to the civic leads of the people I represent and I tell them, and they say, well, why didn't you recommend, or why didn't you? I wasn't following instructions that I agreed upon, so that's why I couldn't represent you. It puts the responsibility back on me, versus if you take me off of all the committees, I don't believe my constituents are really concerned about me serving on the Suffolk Education Foundation. They elected me to serve on the Suffolk School Board, so that's the only piece they're really concerned about.
Any other comments on that? Mr. Minnick?
Mr. Reddick, my concern with limiting the a board member's ability to make a motion is that we are elected to do that business, and if we as a board decide that another board member cannot make a motion for 6 months or whatever period of time, that's what they were elected to do. I really don't think we can choose that option.
That's the recommendation. Do you have any recommendations on fixing it?
I would say just eliminate it. I mean, to me, taking a person off a committee, yes, we are limiting their exposure and the ability to talk for the board in that committee. But in the long run, someone else is going to have to pick up the work. If I'm limited and I can't go to Special Ed Advisory Committee, then Ms. Jenkins is going to have to go in my place, or nobody's going to go represent the board at that meeting. And that, at times I would say that doesn't, I wouldn't mind that, but somebody else is going to have to go and take the place. And it feels like more punishment for that individual in their time. I think that if we end with violation number 3, and if there's another occurrence, then we discuss it in open session again. Then we continually go back to violation number 3. If there are violations 4, 5, and 6, and we have to discuss a period of time, but the final violation, the final disciplinary action is always discussing it in public. And if we discuss it in public in a board meeting, eventually, I would think that would stop the behaviors.
Other comments? Suggestions?
I have a suggestion. I don't know if it's going to be a feasible suggestion or not, but would it be applicable if we could go with a fine? We're not silencing their voices. We're not impeding them from representing. You did it. You violated. We're hitting your pocket, not the pocket of taxpayers.
Well, can we do something?
You can. In fact, Portsmouth City Council not long ago fined one of their members for violating one of their norms or protocols. So yes, you can do it. The only thing that I would ask is, what do you do if they refuse to pay it? I'm pretty sure you would not want to file any sort of civil action against one of your board members, because that's going to generate the kind of press that you probably would not want.
Right.
But certainly you could impose a fine.
We come back to the committees. Okay, I'm just back to the 4th violation in hopes. I would think if somebody were disciplined in public, that would be enough to stop the behavior. But I realize that may not be enough, so we may never get to step number 4, whatever we decide it's going to be. I would hope that we'd never get to step number 4, but I think constantly reaming somebody in public would probably just make what we're doing a circus rather than accomplishing the purpose. And that's why I said that this would be a way to respond to that. If we just constantly just criticize a person in public, it may get to the point where it's counterproductive. It gives them the attention, and then they could indicate that somebody's just picking on them, when in truth that's not the case. You keep violating the norms that we agreed to. So that's why I'm thinking that I would stay with number 4 and just say, we'll remove you from your committees. Because every committee has 1 or 2 people on it and an alternate. So it's not like we don't have a person to put in place. That's just fine.
Now, my question is, if we eliminate violation 4 and just leave it with the 3, we can revisit this at a later date? Or is this in stone?
I think the board can always go back and revisit
Right,
it.
we could decide to revisit if we wanted to as well.
Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Well, we could go on with the 3 violations as presented, and then with Chairman Byram's suggestion, if we need to revisit, hopefully it won't get to violation 3.
Right.
We're hoping
I would
that.
hope so.
Yeah,
But
so that we could go on and complete this today, because we really need to have this in place.
Ms. Jenkins, you have joined us late. I know you had a difficulty. Is there anything you would like to share concerning the violations we had just been over? Or violation 4?
I just agree that it needs to be done now, put in place, and if we agree on what we have here, if it needs to be readdressed, then we'll just do it at that time.
You're recommending we go along with just the 3 violations?
Because, yes.
So we will go with the 3,
Or we'll vote on it in the next session.
and we will vote on this in the open, regular meeting tonight. Is that acceptable?
I have a question about the protocols.
Uh-huh.
When the protocol states encourage or discourage, for example, use of social media, board members are discouraged from using social media. I mean, that's not something specific, so it doesn't seem like it would be a violation if a board member continued to use social media because they're only discouraged.
Well, it says how, when, and whom to notify about attending school events, concerts, sporting, or whatever. And what this is akin to is you don't need to make that available. I'm thinking, when I read it, I thought that the figure beside it says how, when, and whom to notify about attending school events. We know this because it's on the school's website, on Suffolk Public Schools website. So it's not like I need to have it on a Facebook page to share with people because it's already on Suffolk Public Schools Facebook page. We'll probably get a call about it from Mrs. Bradshaw or get a notice about it. So I don't know why it would be necessary for a board member to do that, because that's what this says. That's what it's associated with.
I thought when we brought this up that this was in relations to board members using social media to create polls and pass out information pertaining to the governance, not the promotion of events that are open to the public. Because if that's the case, that we can't say, well, Kingsbrook High School is having a
It's
battle
not
of
that
the
you can't.
bands.
It's not that
I mean, it's
it just says
board members are discouraged from using social media. That was what Mr. Mitnick brought up, correct?
talking about.
And
the
you
top
brought
one.
in the other two pieces about how and when and notifying about.
Visiting schools and those kinds of things.
Okay.
I don't know. I just looked at some of the other things that are under that. I'm sorry. I might have been at the wrong space.
Yeah,
But they do, and we had that in the training. We discussed that in the training, and it was clear about what we should do and what we shouldn't do. If you have a Twitter account and you want to say the new education law or something that you want to talk about, I suppose that's not what they're talking about. I'm not sure, but I know that we talked to it, as Mr. Riddick indicated, we spoke to that as we were talking about decisions that school board members, that the school board makes, and then somebody puts a poll up or something to say whatever they want to say that's inconsistent with board decision. I think it was more in line with that. I'm not sure.
If I may, if memory serves me correctly, I think one of the pieces that was discussed was board members are discouraged from using social media to conduct school board business.
Yes.
Which is different from
Let's write
announcing
that.
something.
Right.
If you're
Okay.
announcing something, that's not necessarily school board business, that's just announcing it.
So we
And
can
put
add,
that in it,
we'll put that
to
in.
conduct
be
school
in
board
I
business.
got you. Okay.
Right. It's
We'll add that.
Add that.
Okay. Makes sense.
Any others on the protocols? Okay, we will address those and vote on these tonight at the regular meeting. Is there any other discussion? If not, we will ask for a
We're
motion.
going to vote on the, excuse me, Ms. Byram, we're going to vote later on the adjustments that we just made.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay,
Yes, that's on the agenda later tonight to vote on them.
so we have, I guess we made some changes. Can we go over those one more time so that it's clarified? One, because Ms. Jenkins just came in, and two, because I want to make sure, because if we're going to vote, I want to know what I'm voting for exactly, and I want everybody to be on the same page.
I think by the time you vote, we talked about the fact that we would go ahead and rewrite those based on the notes that you gave us, the changes that you wanted made, and we'll rewrite those so that whatever it is will be said. I don't know that we need to go through each and everything that we went through to say, tell me what you're proposing we do. I'm sorry, maybe I'm misunderstanding. And that's quite possible.
I just wanted to clarify what we're voting on later. So we've made these changes. So in that norm, we changed it to say the last line of the last norm, if more than 1 hour is required to generate data, the full board must endorse the request.
That's what we
Right,
said.
that was the change
That was
we
the
made.
change
That
we
was the
made.
change.
Right,
Okay, and then
that
we
was the only one on the norm.
On the norms.
Right,
And
And
then
then-
we were going to change the protocol that you said matched the norm, protocol
Right.
number 8, to say that same thing, to add the 60 minutes.
and we're also gonna change on the social media,
We're going
change
to
that,
amend that to say, but she was here for that,
right? And,
to change that to discuss the school board business. That would be added to that. Right. And 60 minutes would be added to protocol. We defined what considerable meant, and we said more than 60 minutes. That was,
and the violation, the second one is a written reprimand,
the second one would be a written reprimand.
and the third one is the hearing in public meeting.
And the written,
And then we stop there.
right, and that's where we're gonna stop. Any others? Any other questions? Okay, we will ask, Mr. Waller for a motion to go into closed meeting.
A motion is needed to go into a closed meeting to discuss the following items and subjects pursuant to Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. Number one, the discussion and/or consideration of the personnel report regarding specific individuals relative to employment of prospective candidates, resignations, appointments, promotions, and disciplining of specific employees of the school board. And number two, the discussion and/or consideration of the pupil personnel report relative to out-of-zone requests and disciplinary matters requiring specific students enrolled in Suffolk Public Schools, where the discussion in open meeting would involve the disclosure of information contained in the student's scholastic record, all of which is authorized by Section 2.2-3711, 1 and 2 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended.
so moved.
Second.
Board Member Jenkins,
Yes.
Board Member Mayo,
Yes.
Board Member Metnick,
Yes,
Board Member Reddick,
Yes.
Vice Chair Brooks Buck,
Yes.
Chairman Byram,
Yes,
motion carried.
and we will return at 6 for the Kings Fork honor graduates. My keys keep falling off. I put them inside.
Okay, that's not going that way.